Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tee-Torials where I'll be taking you through a nice gentle morning routine, helping you to start your day nice and refreshed and relaxed. When you're ready, finding a comfortable position on the mat, closing the eyes down, allowing the arms to fall where they fall naturally. Starting to internalize your focus. Maybe you bring your focus to your breath. On your inhales, consciously trying to expand the lungs, allowing the diaphragm to drop down, belly expands. And on your exhales, completely emptying the lungs to the last breath. Trying to maintain this throughout the practice. When you're ready, flicker open the eyes and we'll move on with the practice. Dropping the chin down so it's reaching towards the chest, allowing the head to hang heavy. And then coming all the way back through center, allowing the head to drop back completely. Doing this a few more times, allowing the chin to come down, trying to touch the chest. And then coming through center, dropping the head back. 2 more times, allowing the head to hang heavy. And then dropping it back. Last time, really go through the full motion of the neck. And dropping it back. Once you've done, just coming back to center. This time dropping the right ear down to the right shoulder. Coming back through center and just dropping it down the opposite way so the left ear reaches towards the left shoulder. 2 more times, dropping the right shoulder down and then dropping it back down to the left shoulder. Coming back up to center. I'm going to take some circles now, so when you're ready, dropping the chin back down to the chest. Allowing the right ear to fall down to the right shoulder. Dropping the head all the way back. And then just circling it round to the left. I'm going to take this a few more times, just really going through the whole motion of the neck. Going as fast or as slow as you need. If you need to stop in a particular place and rock the neck back and forward, if it's slightly tighter in a certain area, feel free to do so. Just using these first few minutes to wake the body up. And just releasing any tension that you might have built up in the night. Once you've done your last circle that way, just go in the opposite way. So going through the left, all the way back, to the right, and to the center. Again, going as fast or as slow as you need this morning. Don't feel like you have to stick to my rhythm. After your last one, just coming all the way back up to center. Maybe move your hair out of the way. Once you're ready, just walking the hands out in front of you. If you need to stay on your hands because your hips are particularly tight this morning, then please feel free to do so. Don't feel like you have to come all the way down. If you find that your hips are fairly open today, maybe you come onto the forearms. Or maybe you make a pillow with the hand and rest the forehead on the hands. Just enjoying this passive hip opener, so trying to relax the muscles, particularly in the inner thighs and the glutes. Just allowing the body to melt into the pose. We're not forcing anything here. Couple more deep breaths. And when you're ready, just gently coming back up from where you were. Once you are up, just swapping the legs over so that the left leg is in front of the right leg. Or the opposite leg if you had this one the first time round. When you're ready, walking the hands out in front of you, trying to go to the same position you did on the other side. But if it's too intense, feel free to come up. Or you may even find that this side is slightly more open, so you can go further down. Again, once you are there, just relaxing into the pose. Maybe focus on your breath if you're finding this too intense. One more breath here. And then slowly Coming back onto the hands if you weren't, coming back to center. Once you are in center, bringing the hands either side of the body. And then you're going to reach the right hand up and over and come into a nice lateral side stretch. Really thinking about opening up the chest, so we want to avoid rounding down and curving the upper spine. So think about getting the chest to face the ceiling. If you need to come up slightly on that left arm to allow this to happen, then feel free to do so. And then coming back to center, allowing the right hands to go to the floor, and then you're just going to lift up the left hand the same way you did on the right, evening out the body. Again, trying to open up the chest rather than rounding down. If you need to come up onto the fingertips, feel free to do so. Making sure the shoulders nice and dropped away from the ear. One more breath. And then allowing the arm to come back down to the mat. Once you're ready, rolling over the shins, we're going to come into a tabletop position now. Get nice and lined up in our tabletop position. You want the wrist to be directly underneath the shoulders and the knees to be directly underneath the hips. Starting to pull the belly button back to the spine from now, trying to maintain this throughout the practice. And then when you're ready, inhale and dropping the belly to the floor. Gaze comes up. As you exhale, pull the belly button back to initiate the movement and curve in the upper spine. Inhale and drop on the belly. Chest comes forward slightly. Gaze is the last thing to come up. Exhaling, pushing the floor away from you with a hand, really curving the spine. Taking 2 more rounds of these, again in your own breath. Listening to your body. Maybe you need to go slightly faster today, or maybe you need to slow it down completely. After your last one, coming back to a neutral spine. Your next inhale, lift the right arm up to reach towards the ceiling. As you exhale, bring it back down and thread it through and underneath the left arm. Maybe once you're there, it's comfortable to extend the left arm out in front of you, coming onto the fingertips. Into a nice twisted puppy pose. Continuing to get into the spine. Trying to keep the hips in line with the knees. When you're ready, bringing that left hand back in to assist you to come back to your tabletop position. Doing the same thing on the left side, so inhaling, reaching the left hand up. As you exhale, thread it underneath the right hand, Trying to get the left shoulder on the floor, reaching the right hand out in front of you if that's comfortable, coming onto the fingertips. Again, keeping the hips over the knees. Breathing deeply. And after your last breath, again, you're just going to walk the right hands back into the center of the body. It's coming back to your tabletop position. Once you are in a neutral tabletop position, tucking the toes under, pushing the hips up and back, we're going to come into a downward facing dog. As always in your downward facing dog, feel free to bend the knees to encourage the spine to become straighter. We want to avoid any rounding in the spine. If you need to pedal out the feet or take any movement in your downward facing dog, feel free to do so. Warming up the body, warming up the hamstrings. Starting to find some stillness in your downward facing dog now. I'm going to take a few ripples through the spine. So when you're ready, you're going to ripple through the spine to come into a plank position. Really try to ripple through, and as you exhale, bend the knees and hover them off the floor. Continuing to exhale, push the hips up and back, come back to your downward facing dog. We're going to take this a few more times. So inhale and ripple through the spine, plank position. Exhale, bend the knees, hover them off the floor, and then push the hips up and back. Again, inhale and ripple through the spine, bringing the shoulders over the wrist. Exhale and hover the knees. Push back to a downward facing dog. Last time, inhale and ripple through the spine. Hover the knees as you exhale and really push the hips up towards the sky. Really nice. On your next inhale, bring the knee and the right knee in and try to touch the nose with the knee. And then plant it in between the hands. Dropping the knee of that left leg, the toes untuck, come into a lunge. You can bring the hands on the thigh. You can bring them to heart center. Or you can bring them overhead, remembering to have the shoulders away from the ears. Taking whatever variation is comfortable for you. We're going to bring some movement into our lunge now. So taking the right hand and trying to bring it back behind us and touching the left leg. And then just coming back. We're going to do it 2 more times, dropping the right hand back behind us, touching the left leg if that's accessible to you, and then bringing it back up. 1 more time, dropping it behind us and bringing it back up, just to open up the chest. After your last one, framing that front foot, tucking the back toes, step back to a plank first, lowering the knees, and the rest of the body follows to the floor, keeping the elbows hugged in. Keeping the hands on either side of the chest. As you inhale, push the floor away from you with the hands and come into a gentle back bend, and then as you exhale, lower the chest back down to the floor. Again, inhaling, push the chest away from the floor, exhaling, float back down. 3 more times, inhaling, push the chest up, exhaling, come back down. Squeezing the glutes, inhaling, push the chest up, exhaling, come back down. 1 more time. Maybe you go further this time, inhaling, push the chest up and forward, exhaling, coming down. Reaching the left arm out long across the floor, picking the right foot up and trying to bring it over the left leg, getting into that left shoulder. If it's comfortable, and only if it's comfortable, maybe you bring the right hand up and over and interlace the fingers with the left hand. And then coming all the way back, bringing the hand around first to guide the rest of your body. Bringing the hands back towards the chest, pushing the hips all the way back to the heels and then tucking the toes, pushing them up to downward facing dog. Just taking a moment to find your downward facing dog, coming back to the breath if you find that you've lost it. We're going to gently get deeper into the hamstrings now. So when you're ready, bring in the right hand and try to grab the outside edge of that left leg. Ideally the ankle, but you don't have to. Again, if you need to bend the knees, feel free to do so. And then releasing the hand back to the mat, going on the opposite side, so bringing the left hand and trying to grab hold of the outside of that right leg. Encouraging a twist in the upper body. And then coming back to center. We're going to move on to the left side. So when you're ready, you're going to bring the left knee in and try to touch the nose or forehead. And then placing it in between the hands. Dropping that back leg, untucking the toes. Coming to the same variation you had on the right side. So if you had your hands on the thighs, keeping them on the thighs. If you had them at heart center, bringing them to heart center. Or if you had them overhead, reaching them up. Steadying yourself first by grounding down that front foot before we move on to opening up. So when you're ready, dropping that left hand back, trying to touch the right leg, and then bringing it back up. Dropping the left hand down, twisting, and then bringing it back up. Last one, dropping it back round, trying to touch the outside edge of that right leg, and then bringing it back up. Framing the front foot, tucking the back toe, step back to a plank. This time maybe you lower all the way in one go this time, hugging the elbows in. I'm going to take those back bends again, so as you inhale, reach the chest up, and as you exhale, fall into the mat. Going as fast or as slow as you need, we're going to do it 4 more times. Whatever speed you are doing it out, just think about really squeezing the glutes to protect the lumbar spine and to allow you to go deeper into the back bend. Just enjoying this movement of the spine. When you're ready, reaching the right hand out to the side. Lifting the left foot up and then dropping it back over onto the opposite side. Again, if it's comfortable, maybe you take the left hand and you bring it back and interlace it. Resting here, not taking any sudden movements or forcing anything here. Once you're ready, bringing the left hand back to the mat, rolling the body back over, tucking the toes, push the hips back towards the heels, and then pushing the hips up. Come back into your downward facing dog. Taking a moment here, maybe your hamstrings are starting to feel slightly more open, so you can encourage the heels to come closer to the floor. They don't have to reach. But again, that's the feeling you want in the back of the legs. When you're ready, we're going to slowly walk the feet to meet the hands at the top of the mat. Feel free to bend the knees as much as you need to allow this. Once the feet have arrived, just dropping the head and dropping the upper body, let it hang heavy. It's quite nice to let the knees bend here so the chest rests on the thighs. And then ever so slowly rolling up through the spine, stacking vertebra by vertebra. So you're in your Tadasana. Once you've arrived in your Tadasana and your mountain pose, just taking a moment here to end the practice. Maybe close the eyes, bring the focus back to the breath again. Thank you for joining me today, and as always, I hope to see you again soon.